Hi, this is Amy with the Easter edition of the US Chartbreakers here at Zach's Traders Cafe for Sunday, the 31st of March. Starting off with the S&P, which continues to deliver a rather unlikely trajectory within this narrowing channel, which has been in place since back in October, the red line's there. And the view at the moment is that above the floor of that channel, 51.90, we're looking for the resistance line projection there, heading as high as 53.15. Obviously sometime in the first part of April through 53.15, best case scenario target maybe for the end of May up to as high as 55.20, even though that appears to be rather unlikely. That is a September resistance line projection. On the downside, not expecting anything lower now than 5100, but obviously that would be quite a shock to the system if that happened. Recent support has been really just below 5200. Moving on to the Nasdaq, and here the Nasdaq 100 reflecting what we're seeing at the S&P, obviously, but uptrend line there from back in October. The floor there around 18,000 with that uptrend line. Below the line there from the end of last year, 17,800, the worst we're expecting on the downside if we do break down. Otherwise, it's up to that September resistance line projection, 18,800, which could be hit sometime during April. As far as the top estimate of where we're going is concerned, 19,600, 19,700 at the top of that October trend channel is a possibility maybe by the end of May. Moving on to the stocks, and starting off with a decent situation, and here you can see why. Celcuity or Celcuity. Here we've got a rising trend channel which has been in place since basically April last year, and the top of that channel currently heading for $28. We're looking for that hopefully by the end of April 2024, and that's valid while we hold above the initial March resistance around the $19 area, so above 19. Looking for 28 at Celcuity. Stock which we've covered quite a few times here in the recent past has been Servomed, and good to see it making progress. We hit the second target we had there at the top of that wide rising trend channel from back in June last year at just around the $26 mark. Current situation is we've had a bear trap gap reversal, so quite a steep fall during the week, but bouncing back right at the end of it, and looking for a retest of 28 or 26 or $27, hopefully in the first half of April. The next stock, the curiously named stock, has repeated itself here, Dogness, and here we're hoping that after failing at least 2 or 3 times near the $10 level, this is not the start of a new bear run. We've got the last fig leaf support there with the 50-day moving average on the floor of that rising trend channel base in place since October around the $5 level. Above $5, still the chance of $8 or $9, which is obviously the 2024 resistance area for the shares. Moving along to General Restaurant Group, and here, after a rather nasty bear trap to start March, we see the shares back in a rising trend channel base from back in October. The floor of the channel there around $9.10. Above the floor of the channel looking for $16, hopefully by the end of April, at the top of a rising trend channel from the end of last year. Interesting name coming up next, Intest Corporation, and here the shares breaking the recent resistance that we've had just above the 50-day moving average. Broadening triangle base there, currently heading for $15, hoping for that in the first half of April. Ideally, we stay above the recent March resistance around $12.70 in the meantime. Marpai is next, and here we've had a slow but steady progression within a rising trend channel there from the beginning of July last year. Top of the channel there heading for $5, which we're hoping for by the end of next month. That might be slightly optimistic, but at least while we're above the floor of the channel there around $1.80, $5 over the near term, maybe 4 to 6 weeks, does seem to be a possibility. Obviously, the easiest thing there is to wait for clearance of recent resistance around $2.80, and then assume $5 is on its way relatively quickly. We've looked at the next stock here before on a few occasions, Kidpik, and Here you can see it's been a bit of a rocky ride. What's interesting here is that the initial target there around $5.50 has proved to be a barrier for the shares. Want to see an end of day close above that to then give us the chance of a retest of $10. We would expect if we broke through $5.50 on an end of day close basis, there would be quite a quick move towards $10. So ideally that happens before the end of April. The other proviso is that we'd like to see the shares remain above the floor of the top of the latest gap there around $4.20, but that may be asking a little bit too much. A stock which we have covered here before and seems to be going from strength to strength, Metamaterials. Here the reason for saying that is that the shares look like they're ready to break out of the recent falling wedge. That's been in place since back in the late part of November, and basically looking for the shares to rally towards the top of the wedge there, $3.80, while we're above recent resistance, and stay above the $3 mark, which was also the floor for the shares early in February. Another stock of interest for the bulls is coming up next, and here we can see Matter, and here Matterport is the one where we've had a gap higher within this falling trend channel, that top of the channel there, $2.80. We're looking for that by the end of next month, especially while we remain above the floor of the latest gap, around $1.95, so that hopefully will be achievable over the next few weeks. We looked at Outlook quite a few times in the recent past and seems to be getting better and better. Here you can see that we've hit our initial target there, the top of that broadening triangle base from November, around $12, above $12, looking for the upper parallel of the triangle top, $17.50 by the end of April. The ideal scenario is that we stay above the 50-day line, now rising near $8.40. Moving along to the last three. First one is Rex American, and here a nice gap to the upside. We've seen this sort of jumpy price action before. Saw back in November, but obviously on that occasion the shares fell back. Looking at the initial target here around $60.50, we can break through that. It could be $70 by the end of next month, but ideally we stay on the right side of the low 50s. The old peak there around 51.50, and that needs to be held as support for 70 to be delivered any time soon. RH is next, and here you can see a nice gap through resistance within a rising trend channel from September. Top of the channel there heading for $375. We're looking for that while we remain above basically the top of the latest gap there around $3.30, and ideally the mid 330s ahead of a move towards $375 during April. Finishing off with a stock which hopefully will deliver the goods for the bulls. Here, a sort of slow burn that we've had, but we could argue it's a rising trend channel base for Vistagen, and here the top of the channel heading for up to the $7.20 area. We're looking for that by the end of April, while we remain above the 50-day moving average around $4.70. The top of the channel there, a August resistance line projection from the end of last year, and it's nice to see that U-shaped turnaround that we had during the course of March. That's it for me today. More updates during the week.